What is racism? I get a lot of different opinions when I ask this question, but I want to share with you today the definition of racism and my definition of racism and how it's helped shift my outlook and mentality around this. Oddly enough, when I share this, and I'm going to preface this video with this, the biggest group of people that give me kickback on this are people who look like me. And it's usually men who look like me. And it blows me away that of all people, they're the people that are saying, no, you're wrong. No, that's not it. I feel like there's a lot of people who lean into the victim mindset because it's an easy excuse for why you're not succeeding. And that leads to having to couple to things and tell yourself stories about what's going on in the world, because then it just justifies why you're not succeeding, right? There's something in the ether holding you down. But so I want to share that. So when I was growing up, I was taught this lesson very, very early, and it was something that my mom taught me, and it was also something that a mentor of mine taught me. And I'm sharing this with you because this is something I didn't know. He said, especially the gentleman who was mentoring me at the time, he was an older black man. He was involved in the church, and he said, listen, racism is not what people say. It's what people do to you that prevents you from doing something. It is something that is holding you back. It is something that has a physical, tangible effect on you. And I remember when he first told me that, and I know he spoke in his church, and this is something he shared in his church because I talked to people who were in his congregation, and they said, yeah, no, he's talked about that, given that sermon in church. And so I asked him to expand on it, and he said, young man, racism is not someone calling you a name. That is ignorance, right? And it's trying to eliminate that from the world. Good luck, right? But he also said, someone calling you a name is not holding you back. Someone who looks at you a certain way and maybe whispers something about you when you walk out of a room, that's not holding you back. That's not taking food off your plate. That's not taking money out of your pocket, right? And I said, no, I guess not. He said, so why are you letting that bother you? Because I was in a point where I was just angry at the world, right? I was a young man with dark skin, and man, I was dealing with some pretty shitty stuff in my life. And I was living in this all-white town and dealing with, what I thought was racism. And some of it, he said, was racism, 100%. But he said most of what I was dealing with was not racism. It was ignorance. It was stupidity. It was foolishness. And he said, but you cannot let that distract you from your success. So I said, okay, well, so what am I looking at? Like, what am I doing here? And he said, racism is when someone treats you differently and prevents you from some sort of benefit, from some sort of action. So he said, you walk into a restaurant and they serve the white man and they don't serve you. That's racism. You go to the bank and they give the white man the loan and they don't give you the loan, and you have the same credit score. That's racism. They said you walk into a car dealership, you have the same credit score, and the white guy gets an interest rate that's single digits, and you get an interest rate that's double digits. That's racism. And I said, okay, all right. He said, because those are things like you go for the job, you don't get hired because the white man gets it. Well, now they just took money out of your pocket. They took food off your table, right? When you have to pay more interest rate on a loan for a car note, that is taking money out of your pocket and ultimately food off your table, right? You go somewhere and they don't let you in, right? That they're giving someone a benefit of allowing to be in that place, eat that food, do whatever, and they're not letting you do it, right? So those are examples of racism. They are treating you differently based on your race, or it happens to women, it happens to people who are overweight, it happens to a lot of different people, it happens to Asian people, Jewish people, right? We know that. And he made that very clear. He said, listen, he would always say, listen, when I would tell him about stuff that was bothering me, he's like, you ain't special. A lot of other people are dealing with same stuff. And he was very good at not letting me fall into that, like, oh, woe is me, I'm a victim. He was very good. He'd be like, so what? That girl over there, look at her. She's overweight. Look at her. What do you think she's dealing with everywhere she goes? People are looking at her funny. People are whispering behind her back. When she walks out of a room, people are saying stuff, right? And she's going to be treated differently when she goes to get certain jobs, right? You think they're going to hire her to be the drink girl at the local bar where all the young men are coming in? No, they're not going to hire her for that job. Why? Right? She's a white girl. But she's big, and they're not going to hire her. And so he's like, so what? So he said, you're not the only one who's having these things. So I would tell him, yeah, this happened to me. He didn't care. He did not let me fall into that victim mindset. So I said, okay, yeah, I get it. He's like, so when something happens to you and that something is different treatment that is giving you something is beyond, just a name or a look or whatever, right? He said, no, it has to have this effect on you. What is it keeping from you? What is it preventing you from doing? How is it taking money, food, opportunity away from you, right? Survival. If it's affecting your survival, right? What do we need to survive? We need a roof. We need food, right? We need a job. We need money. He said, if it's affecting your survival or if it's affecting your ability to go do something that someone else can do, that's racism. He said, what's not racism is something I told him a story, right? I told him a story about how I went somewhere and I walked into the store and they were kind of looking at me a little strange. They were kind of looking at me like, I don't know, kind of give me the eye like I was going to steal something. I was like, man, this is crazy. And he said, okay. And I said, yeah, just made me uncomfortable. I was like, why are they looking at me like that? He said, okay, what happened? I said, well, I took what I wanted to, picked up what I wanted to buy, and I went up to the counter, I got rung up, and I left. He's like, so you were not prevented from purchasing that item? I said, no. He said, they allowed you to buy that item? I said, yeah. Some older white lady who rang me up, she's kind of giving me the eye. He said, okay, so she gave you an eye, she gave you a funny look, but ultimately, she let you pick up that item, go to the checkout, check out, and buy that item and walk out. So you were not adversely affected. I said, no, yeah, that's right. He's like, so what? And I was like, this guy's he's like a grandfather, right, talking to you, right? And he's a man of the church. And I said, yeah, I guess. He said, so what? Did you get your thing? I said, yeah. They take your money? I said, yeah. And they let you buy it and walk out? I said, yeah. He said, so what? You got what you wanted, right? So what? And I said, I guess. Yeah, all right. He's like, what else? And I said, one time I went to this restaurant and, walked in and, it was in a pretty much like an all white area. I was meeting my friends there and, a guy at the front kiosk thing kind of gave me like a funny look. And I told him I was meeting friends and he kind of looked like he was kind of like eyeing me up and whatever. And I don't know. So he's like, yeah, okay. So what happened? I said, yeah, my friends sat down. He's like, did you have dinner? I said, yeah. He's like, did they feed you? I said, yeah. How was the food? I said, it was excellent. He said, all right. Did you have a cocktail? I said, yeah, I did. He said, how was it? I said, it was really good. He said, okay. He said, what happened after that? I said, we paid the bill and we left. And he said, okay. And? I said, no, nothing. He said, okay, so what's the issue? He said, listen, people are going to give funny looks. People are going to look at you funny till the end of time. That's never going to go away, right? He reiterated. He said people look at people who are overweight, people who are short people. I don't know what you call them these days. I don't politically correct to call them midgets or height disadvantaged people or whatever. He said you get people who look at old people a certain way, right? You get people who look at women a certain way in certain situations, right? He said, okay, let them look. Let them look. As long as they're not preventing you, keeping something from you. That's when it crosses the line, right? When they're disadvantaging you, right? They're not giving you the same advantage as someone else. That's when it crosses the line. He said, but if that doesn't happen, you gotta get that skin a little thicker and move on because you're going to be dealing with that forever. He said that has been happening since the beginning of time and it will happen till the end of time. He said, so if you're looking to live in a world where that doesn't exist, and you're going to go around this world, this life, this world that's a melting pot with people, all kinds of backgrounds and whatever. If you're looking to go through this life and you want nobody to ever look at you a little differently, kind of look at you out of the side of their eye, maybe kind of watch you as you're walking through a store. Okay. He made it clear. He said, is it right? No. He said, it's not right. It's not right. Because you're walking in a store, you got money and you're not going to steal anything. You're a good man, right? You were raised right. You're not going to do that? So is it right that they're giving you that look? Is it right when someone sees you and they maybe whisper a derogatory word? as you walk by? Is that right? He said, no, it's not right. It's wrong. But there's a lot of wrongs in this world. And there's a lot of people who don't look like you that are getting wronged every single day. The groups I just mentioned. And he said, does that stop them from moving ahead? Does that stop them from succeeding? Is it pulling food off their table? Is it taking money out of their bank or preventing them from earning money? Is it preventing them from eating, feeding, surviving, right? And I said, no, I guess not. And he said, so what? So what? It's never going to go away. He said, if you're looking for a world where you're never going to have to deal with that, as wrong as it is, if you're looking for a world where you're never going to have to deal with that, man, he's like, you might as well just get on a spaceship and leave this planet. Because it's been going on since the beginning of time, and it's going to go on till the end of time. He said, now, when you encounter something where it's disparate treatment and you're being put at a disadvantage, right? Or you're being denied an opportunity, right? That's what he said, the definition. Being put at a disadvantage, being denied an opportunity, being denied certain opportunities or rights, yeah, then that's racism. And he said, you need to fight, and you need to deal with that, and you should not accept that, right? Because it's unacceptable. But outside of that, okay, you're tough. You're bigger than that. You move on. You move on. And he asked me at that point outright, he said, give me a place. Give me a place that you can't walk into today as a man looking like you with your skin color. He said, name me a place where you can't walk into. And I said, I don't know. He said, name me a college institution you can't walk into and apply to be a student. I said, I don't know. I don't think there's any. He said, when you're applying for college, based on how you look, you might get some extra bonus points. I said, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I guess, maybe. He said, okay. Name a job that you can't go apply for. That you're not allowed to apply for because how you look. I said, I don't think there's any job that I'm not allowed to. I said, well, I get the job. I don't know. He said, no, I'm saying, well, you get the job. He said, is there any job out there that you are not allowed to apply for? I said, no. He said, is there a restaurant you can name me that you cannot go in and eat a meal? And I said, no. He said, so there's no place you can't go. There's no place you can't go to eat. There's no place that's going to stop you from walking in the building, any government building, any public building, anywhere, any store, anywhere. Is there anywhere or anything you can't do because of the color of your skin? And it's like the law. I said, no, I guess not. I guess not. He said, you guess not? I said, yeah, I guess not. He said, well then, what's your excuse? He said, listen, if you're trying to live a life where everyone likes you and everyone's just going to look at you with like these rosy eyes, he said, you're living that's a dream world. That's some utopia. That doesn't exist. He looked me straight in the face. He said, do you like everybody? I said, well, no, not really. He's like, do you like everyone you see during the day? Do you ever look at someone and maybe pass judgment? Or do you look at someone and be like, I don't like that person? You ever meet people you don't like or see people you don't like or look at certain people and you're like, right? He said, do you? I said, yeah. He's like, so if you don't even like everyone, right? You don't even like everyone. But you want to walk around the world and everyone to love you, like you, love the way you look, love the way you dress, love the way you talk, everything? He said, is that realistic? Is that real world? I was like, man, yeah, I guess not. He said, don't worry about that. Don't worry about everyone liking you. You don't even like everyone. So just be you. Be a good man. Have good character. Have good morals. Have good ethics. And just worry about you. Don't worry about how people look at you. Don't worry about if someone says something behind your back that you don't even know if they're saying it. You're just thinking they might be saying it. He said, don't even worry about that. He said, worry about you. Focus on you. Like he reiterated, if you ever run into anything where someone is depriving you or putting you at a disadvantage, that's taking an opportunity away from you, which later on down the road I did experience, he said, you fight. You fight back because that's wrong. You fight back and you don't stop fighting until you win. And that's exactly what I did. Years later, I got come full circle. I didn't know that was going to be my world, but that's what he said. He said, you fight. When you are experiencing that wrong, when he defined as true racism, right? People were depriving me of an opportunity. People were depriving me from the ability to make money or have the opportunity that they're giving to other people who didn't look like me. He said, that's when you fight. He said, you walk into a restaurant, someone doesn't serve you, you fight. They don't serve you because of the color of your skin. That's when you fight. That's when you fight. You try to go somewhere and they don't let you in because of the color of your skin. He said, that is when you fight. Not fight, physically, but, right, like the right way, fight back. Don't stand for it. But he said, that aside, you're not dealing with racism. Aside from things like that, you're dealing with ignorance. And ignorance is never going away. Ignorance is going to be here till the end of time. You will never rid the planet of ignorant people. And if you're looking to live on a planet where there's no ignorant people, he said, good luck. Might as well lock yourself in a room and never leave, because it's not going to happen. It's always going to be there. And if you say that's an excuse, people looking at you funny, people maybe thinking something about you, okay, so you think someone might be thinking something about you. He said, is that what you're going to, base your life on? Oh, I think those people look at someone like me and think this. You don't know. You're just saying, I think they think, so I'm going to not do this. Or I'm going to be mad. I'm going to be upset. I'm going to be angry. Because you think that they're thinking something about you. You don't know. You think they think. I told him that one time. I said, I went somewhere and I said, he asked me what happened. I said, yeah. And he said, what? And I said, well, they're probably looking at me thinking this. And he said, they're probably looking at you thinking this. He's like, how do you know? Did you ask him? I said, no, but I know. I go, places like that and they look at me a little weird and whatever. He's like, oh, they look at you a little weird. Did they stop you from going in? Did they stop you from doing what you wanted to do? Your purpose there? Were you able to walk in and walk out and do what you need to do? Yeah. Did anyone say anything to you? No. No one said a word to me. No. Did anyone look at you funny? No. No one looked at me funny. Like, so you went there, you were allowed in, you were allowed to do the thing, did boom, 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 you left, and no one even said anything to you. No. But you're telling me now that you know that guys like that look at you a certain way and think about you a certain way. They didn't say a word to you. I said, no. So you think they think, but you don't know. I said, no. And he said, son, do you see how foolish you sound? Do you see how stupid you sound? You're working yourself up on something you don't even know. Oh, they might be, or they might be. They probably are. He said, you're going to live your life like that? You're going to walk around life worrying about what people might be thinking about you? What they might be saying about you? He said, that's not living life. That's just going around worried about what everyone else is thinking, and it has no effect on you. And he said, that's no way to live. He said, you got to choose to walk around knowing who you are, knowing that you're a good man, and not thinking about any of that. Because every single person can walk around this world worrying about what everyone else is thinking about them. White, black, Asian, Jewish, fat, skinny, tall, short, old, young, male, female, trans. Everyone can walk around this planet worrying about what people might be thinking about them, might be saying about them when they walk out of the room, when they walk out of the restaurant, when they walk out of the building. And he said, only weak people allow that to run around in their mind and affect their lives. Because you're worrying about something that might not even be being thought or might not even be being said. He said, that's a weak person. And he said, you, son, are going to be a strong man. You're going to be a good man. And you're not going to be worried about that stuff that might be happening, might be said. And he said, even if it is, doesn't matter. As long as you can do you and you're being served, doesn't matter. It was one of the greatest lessons I learned in life. It made me who I am today. I'm not sitting here saying that it doesn't exist, because it does, and it's sad, and it's disgusting. Racism does exist. Ageism does exist. Right? Right? Discrimination against women does exist. Discrimination against Jews does exist. Discrimination against Asians does exist. Discrimination against trans individuals does exist. Discrimination against gay, lesbian does exist. And at some point, we've all looked at someone from one of those groups and made a judgment. And maybe that judgment wasn't positive. So if you're someone who looks like me, ask yourself, have you ever looked at someone that didn't look like you or didn't live like you or didn't have your sexual preference or whatever and may have a negative thought about them? Was it grounded? Was it just? Was it called for? Or do you just have that thought? And is it right? And he said, man, that's no different. He called me right out. He said, that's no different. That is no different from you saying that you walked in somewhere and someone kind of looked at you a little funny and you think it's because of the color of your skin. Or you walked out of a place and you thought, oh, they're probably saying something about me because of the color of your skin. He said, it's no different. He said, you're guilty of it too. So what? So I changed. From that day on, I changed. And I stopped telling that story. And I stopped caring. Because I realized that he was right. There was never going to be a world where I lived in where people weren't going to maybe think something about me or judge me based on the color of my skin or, right, wrong, or indifferent. So I was just going to live my life and just be positive. Be positive. Not think that people are thinking that about me. Not think that people might be whispering when I walk out of the room or whatever, walk out of the restaurant or walk out of the shop. So long as I can go in and complete my mission and I'm being served and no one's preventing me from any kind of advantage or putting a disadvantage on me because of how I look, as long as that's not happening, I'm winning. And here I am, CEO and founder, owner of a multi-million-dollar company, driving a different car every day of the week, each car 6 figures, and I built that all in this world that we're living in. And there's a lot of people who look just like me that have a lot more than me. They got a lot more money. They got a lot more opportunity. They got a lot more things going on. And God bless them. So if I can do it, it's possible. So that was a lesson I learned. And I'm very thankful for what that man taught me. And I wish I could have heard him share some of these lessons in church. I didn't go to that church. But I talked to people who did, and they said it was a blessing to have someone like him speaking, especially to the youth in the congregation. So, yeah. So I thought I'd share that with you guys here and, clear the air, because when I share stuff like this, the feedback I get, the negative feedback I get from young men who look like me, saying, you're crazy, you're this, you're that. Oh, it doesn't matter how successful you are. They're going to still look at you as an N-word. Like, I guess just go back to what the pastor said. So what? So what? It's never going to go away. So what? That's no way to live. I don't even think about it. I think it's kind of small-minded to think about that. So what? LeBron James, rich man. Rich man. Michael Jordan, Barack Obama. Like, you just keep going. I know local doctors and local attorneys that got way more than I got. Black men, strong men, good men. I don't know, they don't care. Maybe they walk into places and people look at their skin color and think things, or whisper. I don't know. I don't know what happens. I don't even think about it anymore. But maybe that happens, right? Doesn't matter. They don't care. They're living a good life. They succeeded. They worked hard. They succeeded. They don't give a shit. They don't think about that. That's small-minded thinking, right? You think any of those people I just named walk into restaurants and look around and be like, oh, I wonder if there's someone's thinking this about me? Or they walk out of somewhere and be like, oh, I wonder if they're thinking this about me. They don't care. They don't care. It's about living their life, succeeding, and living a good life. That's the best revenge. So, just sharing that, and maybe helps shift some mindsets. It shifted mine. It was a tough lesson to learn as a young man. And maybe it'll shift yours. Maybe not. And I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I have the answer. I'm just sharing a lesson I learned from a very, very wise and knowledgeable man of color, man of God. And just sharing that and sharing with you what it did for me. That's all. Not saying he's right, not saying I'm right, not saying anyone's right. Just sharing. That's all. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, give it that thumbs up. And if you feel that it could bring value to someone else, please share it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next one.